Hey, everybody. And by everybody, I mean the handful that's made it for this quick impromptu live. I'm still struggling with my editing and recording software, and I thought I had it figured out. I I switched over to OBS from Active Presenter that I was using. Everybody said, "Do you try OBS? Try that." So I switched over to OBS and thought it was working, thought I had it figured out. And I worked all day yesterday, finished the project, finished the video, finished everything, was ready to upload the video this morning when I come in. And when I looked at my rendering, corrupt. Went back and looked at the editing software that I uploaded, finished the edits from last night, and all of that was corrupt. And that was in the DaVinci Resolve. It's a separate editing software that put everything together in the fades and the cross dissolves and all the fancy stuff. And something's going on there. And I said, well, it wasn't all corrupt. So I said, I'll salvage that and I'll make a short version of just the job so you can see the job in process. Just before going live, literally 3 minutes before going live, that finished rendering, but that's corrupt. Now, it wasn't corrupt before, so something's going on with my software, and I don't know what to do about it. And that's why I'm stuck with the live works. The live works because I'm not having to use any of this editing software. But I've had 3 different softwares now, and now I think it might be in the DaVinci Resolve that's giving me the problem. I don't know. But so in the last live stream Saturday, we did the desk nameplate, and I gave away one of those, and that nameplate went out in the mail today. So, and I think it was going to Wisconsin, so it should be there in the next 3 to 4 days, depending on the postal service. But I've been experimenting with the nameplates, and right after that live Saturday, I had a request for a custom nameplate from one of the viewers. They wanted to have their name, but in between the first and last name, they wanted the profile of a bald eagle. And I said, okay, well, I can do that. Then I started thinking about the challenges of the bald eagle. The bald eagle needed to prefer to have the head, of course, white. And I could accomplish that with the walnut nameplate and the maple for the inlay. But then you've got the white, solid white maple inlay, but now you need to get the detail of the eagle on there. The feathers and the eyes and, the beak and all that. And I said, oh, yeah, and the beak. So I don't want the beak in maple. So I said, well, I'll do the beak in the Osage orange that I have here, because it's kind of a orangey yellow color. So I'll do Osage orange for the beak, maple for the eagle head, and a maple for the name. But then but I still got to get the feathers and the details of the eagle on the inlay after it's inlaid. So back to print and cut. And I'm getting pretty good with this print and cut. And I've got and I had all of this on video. Every bit of it's recorded, and I'll look at playing it and see how it's going to play in this software. I don't know how it's going to look. But I also worked with my first ever epoxy pour, and I screwed this one up all along the way. I messed it up with the size of the font. I made it too big. And only after cutting the pockets out did I realize, okay, yeah, that's too big. That ain't going to look good. but it's done. All right, let's create this piece so I can do the pour and see what it's going to look like, because you learn from your mistakes. At least I do. So I did, and then I also played with the kerf, and kerf has been talked about in my inbox more than anything over the last week and a half. And kerf can be a real witch. It can be extremely tough and aggravating, and it's something that you will get to learn with your laser the more you experiment with it and the more you play with it. And initially on these maple inlays in the walnut, I was doing 0 kerf, and it looked good. So I said, all right, well, I'm going to try and bump it up, and I'm going to do a 0.15 kerf. Now, the kerf on my Roly is not a 0.15. I take that back. I wasn't going to do point, because the Roly, the kerf on my Roly is a 0.12. So I said, I'm going to do a 0.06. I'm going to do about half of the kerf just to make it a little bit tighter and see how that works. And I did that with this piece, and that was too tight, because the kerf, when I say the kerf on my laser, when I'm doing the birch premium plywood, I can use and doing the boxes and doing it on a 45 diagonal cut, then I use a 0.12 kerf. Well, the 0.12 kerf doing these fonts was too large. I was not able to squeeze the inlays in as far as I would like to have gotten them. That made for air pockets, pour glue up, and blowouts when I was sanding it. So now the font was too big, and it didn't fit, and there's blowouts. And so I've really foobarred this. It's really a mess. But I still want to learn with my epoxy pour. And so I'm like, okay. So I did the same pocket for my epoxy that I did for the inlays, and learned that wasn't enough. With the way that I was doing the epoxy, I used a clear epoxy, and I tinted it with a pearl pigment, and it would have been a dual blue green pearl, and it is, but it's also translucent because it's not an opaque color. It's just a pearlescent color. And because it's opaque, and I didn't go any deeper than about 1/8 of an inch, you can actually see the grain of the wood through the opaque epoxy. So I learned a whole lot from that. And this is the screwed up piece. Like I said, the font was too big, and I got the blowout there in the B and almost a blowout on the E, where I didn't get it in there deep enough. But the pearl looked okay, except right in that area there, you can see the grains of the wood shining through. And so I was like, okay. So I learned a lot about what not to do, and I'll try again. But then I needed to make the special request piece, and that was for the viewer, Tom. And I did it with the maple, the Osage orange, and the walnut. I went back to the same font size that I did originally. It looked good. Then the headaches of the eagle and the beak. Because on the Osage orange, I've talked about it in the past whenever I used it on the ice cream cone on the Tony's, which I don't have handy here. But yeah, that's the ice cream cone. This, I don't recommend using Osage orange with your diode laser. It's tough to cut. It retains heat like crazy. It's a fire hazard, and it'll burn you. And when you go to pick it, it needs to sit on and cool off before you pick it up, because even it's hot to the touch when you pick it up. But as I said, my kerf, when I'm doing my Baltic birch, is typically 0.12. But on this stuff, because of the way it burns, and this is why I tell people, ask, well, about your kerf, finding your kerf. Well, your kerf is going to vary from material to material. Someone brought that up the other night in the live with Clack. They asked, hey, is the kerf going to vary between the wood and the acrylic? It probably will, but it's going to vary in your wood species as well. This stuff, because of the way it burns away when the diode is hitting it, I ended up having to go to a 0.3, almost 3 times my normal kerf size, and to produce the size of the beak that I needed to fill the void that was there, because so much of this Osage burnt away while I was having to cut. So you've got to test your materials. You've got to get familiar with your laser, and test. That you can't do enough when you're varying species and you're varying woods and different media types, be it acrylic, whatever. There is no Bible. There just isn't. The only way to find out what's going to work is testing. So once I got the name Tom and Callie, I guess I say that right, inlaid, then I put the eagle in there, and then I got the beak in there. So now it looks good, but it's just a white silhouette with the orange beak. So then I had to go back into Lightburn, get all the details of the SVG, get that back in the jig, get print and cut set up, and then go back in and engrave the details of the eagle only after all of the inlays are put in place and all of the sanding was done and it was ready to have the final finish applied to it. So everything was at its correct height. Then I could use print and cut because if you try to do it beforehand, which I did, in order to get that flush and even, you end up sanding away all the detail. I tried to go extremely deep on the detail and know that whenever I sanded it, there'll be some left. Couldn't go deep enough, and it looked good. So with print and cut, I was able to get, and there we go, the eagle and the feathers and the beak. And this, I've got to put another coat of finish on it. And this will go out tomorrow, most likely, in the mail. But after Saturday's live stream, there were a few comments in Lightburn, in YouTube, kind of funny. I think a few people are watching the video and they'll actually comment as they go along, just like you guys do in the live stream. But what they're going to comment on, even if it's a semi-negative comment, it's actually addressed 30 seconds later in the live stream, but they comment on it beforehand, before it's addressed. And I'm like, okay, yeah. But I know if you watch the live stream, I put my glue in and I use my finger to smish it all around. I get it in there, make sure I'm up the walls and fill all the voids and all the air pockets were out. And even Clack jokes, somebody needed a brush. And I said, well, and somebody else said finger painting. And yes, yeah. I don't like getting brushes. I don't like, because if you're using the brush for those applications, you can get the little foam brushes or the little disposable brushes, but they're throwaways. And then if you have a vessel that you put the glue in, you take your brush and you dip it in, you apply the glue, you're going to have less squeeze out. You're going to have less mess. You're going to have less waste of your glue, but you've got waste of the brushes. You got waste of the glue that doesn't get put in the pockets. There's waste either way. And I just use my finger and just, and like I say in Lightburn, there's always more than one way to do something. Is there a messier way? My way might be messier. Is there a more efficient way? Yes, there may be. But if you're going to watch and you're going to comment, I would recommend the live streams comment right along with me and help me out. But if you're commenting on watching the replays, wait till you get to the end, and then because you may have made 2 or 3 comments that were already addressed in the stream, but you didn't see them because you commented beforehand. I may have mentioned, but I want to reiterate, because of the people taking advantage of the situation in Patreon in the past where they would sign up for $20, download $500+ worth of files, and then cancel after a $20 month. You know, they got 530 some odd dollars in files for $20. I have throttled the gold tier patron in Patreon. If you are a gold tier patron, you still get all the files for free, as many of them as you want, but you're currently limited or throttled to downloading $40 worth in a month's time. So you can get double your money in a month in files for free without asking. If you download $40 worth of files and there's another file that comes out and you're like, oh, I really want that, but I've already reached my $40 a month limit, all you got to do is say, hey, Steve, I want to get this file. And if you're a gold patron, I'll send it to you. I'm not going to say, oh, nope, you're going to get 40 a month. But at this time, until I can figure out another way, and I'm working with my webmaster to figure out how to do this, this is the fix, because I've had, in the last 30 days, I've had probably a half a dozen or more people who have signed up and gotten $3,000 worth of files for, $180. So I think people were sharing that idea, and it was, and it was bound to happen. I knew it was going to, and I didn't know what to do about it, but that's what I'm doing now. If you're a gold member or you sign up as a gold member, you still get all the files for free, and you can download $40 a month without having to say anything or ask anything. But if you find you need that, you want another file and you can't download it, if you just send me a message in Patreon and say, hey, I want to get this file, but I've exceeded I'll send it to you. But if I see that you're doing that and you're asking me to send you a file, or 2 every other day, or I'm like, wait a minute, slow your roll. If you need that many files and you want that many files up front, then sign up. If you are an annual gold, in fact, if you sign up as an annual patron in the gold, the throttle doesn't exist. I will make sure that throttle's not there for you. But folks who are paying $20 a month, you'll be limited to just double your money in free downloads. I think that's about the easiest way for me to handle it right now until I can figure out something better. So everybody's just been saying hello and listening, and I haven't had a whole lot going on in the way of Lightburn. And I really, really want to show this video, but I don't know. I can't make it a full screen preview. It's only in the edit mode. And it really stinks that it's this screwed up. But I'm at my wit's end with trying to figure out this editing software. I worked all day yesterday, and when I left the shop last night, I left after I sent this for the final editing and for the final rendering, thinking I'd come in this morning, upload it, and I'm ready to start working for Thursday's project. Nope, none of that worked. Mark's got a question. Where on your website is your affiliate link for Roly? I'm buying the MK2 extended, and I want to get you the kickback. Well, I appreciate that. It is very, 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 very difficult. There you go. hobowithwood.com/Roly. And I talked to Leo today, and or last night. Last night was his today, I guess. And the pre-sale for the extended is supposed to go live sometime this week, maybe, if not this week, before the end of next week. And I'm buying one too. I am, and that's what messaged him and said, hey, let me know as soon as this pre-sale goes live so I can get my order in. I don't want to miss out on that first batch of them. And so he would let me know for sure so I can get in on that first batch. But hobowithwood.com/Roly is my affiliate link for Roly. For all new patrons, should prepay for 6 months, then go on monthly payment. Dale, and I don't even know if that's an option. You have the monthly, it's $20 a month for the gold, or you can do annual at what's that, 12 times $240. Is that right? Yeah, I think so. And you can do annual or monthly. And if someone signs up as annual, then when I create their coupon code, I can set it up so that coupon code does not have a throttle limit on it. But that way they've at least got paid for half the files if they sign up for an annual and then download $500. I don't know that they can cancel that or request a refund. I don't know. And if they did request a refund and I can show they downloaded $500 worth of stuff, hopefully Patreon would not allow that. Hopefully. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the extended myself. And if you guys have got any suggestions or something that you would like to see in the way of projects, email me hobowithwood@gmail.com with your request on something that you would like to see. And I'd be happy to do that, because trying to come up with projects every single week at 1 or 2 projects every week, sometimes this old brain gets tarred. And some of the ideas are from patron requests, like the caddy. That was a really cool project, and I liked working out the engineering for that. But this was a viewer request, and I put that together within 24 hours of their requests. So if you'd like to see something in particular, let me know. hobowithwood@gmail.com. I'm working on a functional clockwork. It's not going to be an actual clock, but it's going to be probably at least one planetary gear system that'll have a sun gear and probably 3 or 4 planetary gears with an outer ring gear. And then off of that, there may be others. There'll be at least 7 or 8 functioning, moving clockwork gears that'll be driven by motor. I was going to do one with an actual clock, but I don't think that the clock motors are strong enough to push all that stuff around. So I've got to find a motor for that. Owls asked a question, says, why do the red guidelines move my starting position? Is it just me? I must delete them or the laser crashes. All right, then that's probably, are you using the absolute coordinates? If you're not using absolute coordinates, that could be a factor. And also what you can do, and what I do is, let's go over here to Lightburn and see here. I can do this. There. So, and I guess what you're talking about are these tool lines. Is that what you're talking about, Al? If these tool lines are on here, that's crashing your computer. And the reason that's happening is because if you zoom way, way out, you can see what he's actually done is these are just 2 really long lines that go way out beyond your workspace area. But if you select it, you can see there's a beginning and there's an end. There's a beginning and there's an end. And depending on the settings you have in Lightburn, go over to, see, yeah, there's laser. You've got absolute coordinates, current position, and user origin. I would strongly recommend putting it in absolute coordinates. But then if you've, depending on where you are with your, there are some options on in here. I don't know if it's in the gears or in the monkey wrench and the screwdriver, but there are some options in Lightburn where you can tell it to ignore objects that are out of bounds. And that's why yours is probably crashing, is because it's not ignoring those extremely long lines. And so it's crashing the laser because it's trying, those are on a toolpath. So you can do this a couple different ways. They're on the T1 toolpath, Al. Turn off the framing for that T1 toolpath. So it won't be trying to frame those. Because if you're trying to frame T1 toolpath and you tell it to frame or whatever, it's going to try and frame those really long lines and it can't. So it's going to crash your computer. But what I do that will solve all of this, whether you've got ignore out of bounds stuff turned on or not, or you've got the toolpath turned on for framing or not, the one thing I do strongly recommend you turning on and getting in the habit of using is this feature right over here, cut selected shapes. Turn that on. And then you can have all the figures you want that are over here. Put that on that layer. And then maybe you've got one over here and you've got one that's even half on the screen work area. And then you've got your piece over here. Well, if you have cut selected shapes turned on and you tell it to go to preview, which is like hitting start, it'll come up with this warning. It tells you have cut selected shapes enabled, but you have nothing selected. And it tells you can say, okay, or turn that off, but I always use it. So now I'm just going to select that pentagon. That's not a pentagon, hexagon, but that hexagon selected. And now you go to preview, it's going to show you that hexagon. And all these other pieces that are off the workbed are irrelevant. So if you have cut selected shapes turned on and then you select the job that you want to do, like here, this one's off the workbed, it's going to give me a warning. It says, hey, this is off the edge and some of it maybe not be sent. Are you sure you want to do this? So there's a lot of reasons I use cut selected shapes, but if you turn that on and you've got those toolpaths on there, those are going to be irrelevant because the only thing that Lightburn is going to recognize and send to the laser is what you have selected. Finally starting to cut my pencil holder as we speak. Looking great so far. Hey, thanks for the suggestion, Karen. Karen was the one that asked about the caddy. And Mark says you might want to put that on your website main menu. I put what on there? The link for Roly or what I was discussing about Patreon? Put what on the main website? And Al said, yeah, it was those tool paths. If they are red lines, then sounds like they aren't on a tool path. Well, the T1 is kind of an orange and it looks like it's, and Mark says same thing. You can always use cut selected shapes. Yeah. And that's what I use. And thank you, Derek. I try to share what I've learned, and that's what this is today. I learned about the acrylic pour. I learned about my font shapes. I learned about my kerf. I learned, I produced a really nice piece for Tom. I like that. I've gotten really, really comfortable with using print and cut, and that I'm really happy with the way that eagle turned out after that, because that was a solid piece of maple that was pressed in there. And then I went back in and did the eagle after it was already pressed in. So I was able to place this back in the jig and back in the laser, of course, and send print and cut out there, and that turned out really good. But let's see here. So thank you for watching, and Moses, thank you, brother. Man, as appreciate it a lot. Thanks, hooray on cut selected 9. Gosh, he's my hero, not my hobo. Okay, Mark, put the Roly link. Yeah, and I'm really terrible about that. I'm terrible. I need to be better, but I'm not a barker. I'm not a barker by nature. I'm, and that's a shortcoming, or not a shortcoming. It's by me not making that as prominent and as readily available, and me not pushing it out there, then people have to ask, or I miss out on opportunities. People are buying the Roly that because of the input that I've shared, but I didn't share the fact that, hey, hobowithwood.com/Roly will let them know I sent you there, and it helps me out with the affiliate link. But I don't want to be, I would rather be known as not the hero, but I'm hobo. I'm helping you learn how to use Lightburn, and I like my Roly laser. I really love the Roly laser. I like a lot of things about it. I'm really looking forward to the extended version because I'm now gluing up some large maple book match panels that are going to be the perfect size for the larger workspace, not having to use the print and cut. And also, with it being the 24 inches wide, I can even do, if I did want to do print and cut, I could do it 2 feet wide instead of, but I don't know how big the actual pass-throughs are going to be on the extended. We'll see. But yeah, there are YouTubers out there that every time you watch their video, they're going to plug something. They're going to plug a new product. They're going to tell you about this. Man, I tell you what, I'm having to ship a lot of stuff now, and I needed something. I found these scales on Amazon, and these are really cool scales. I don't have to zero it out. I don't have to hit the tear button. I turn it on. It's just, man, they're always pushing something, and it's always the next greatest thing. And they've always pushing their links. I'm just not that guy. I'm not. If you use Amazon, use hobowithwood.com/Amazon for all of your Amazon needs. If you go to hobowithwood.com/Amazon, it will redirect you to Amazon.com. But whenever you make whatever purchase you're making, it will help me out. No matter what you're buying, if you're buying a laser or if you're buying a bag of dog treats, doesn't matter. But I don't, when I first started out and before I got some really dependable patrons, I was pushing some of those affiliate links out there, regularly. But my patrons are now helping support this channel. My patrons are greatly appreciated, and I couldn't, you probably would be seeing more of that barker side of me, but I've got really good support with my patrons. Need more, could always use more, but I've got enough that I don't have to hark every single thing that comes down the pipe. I get 2 or 3 requests a week about wanting somebody to maybe put their laser on my channel, and I'm like, I've assembled my last laser. I don't care nothing about putting any lasers together. I don't want to work on an erector set. I don't want to put, gantries on. I don't want to, if I can take it out of the box, bolt a lid on it, and go to work. That's what I'm about. But anyway, any other questions? There's a question. Dale says, I sent you suggestions to your, okay, good. All right. Suggestions are always great. And there's Tom. That's, that looked great. Just got on in time to see it. Here we go again. There's the final, and got the detail of the eagle in there with the Osage orange beak. So that turned out really, really nice. I'm happy with it. So yeah, I'm going to probably put another coat of finish on it, depending on how that sets up. It's not raining, but there's like a 30% chance of showers, and we'll see how it does. It may go out in the mail tomorrow. But thank you. I'm curious. Let's go back to this and go back here. No, I don't want that yet. Oh, hush. Turn speakers down and go back. I wished I could do this up, but I don't know how it's going to look. We'll see how it's going to look. Add a stage. So here's what's crazy. This is my final editing software, and these up here with the orange and the orange triangles, that's showing that it's corrupt. And they weren't corrupt when I put them in there. It only got corrupted after I did the rendering. And I can't make this any larger, but let's see. I got that on there. And if I just hit the play button, and I'm a former marching band, jazz band guy. I used to be in the marching band. I love marches. I love big band music. And for this video, when I put together the laser doing its thing and getting it set up with the print and cut, I went with 2 marches, one from the Army band, and I think one from the Marine band. So I'm going to play this and see how it looks, how it comes across. And you can see this eagle being created. So it should have the march music come across for you too. Are you guys hearing any marches? Okay. And you can't tell it, but it's moving micromillimeters, like 0.2 of a millimeter at a time as I move that into position. The laser was moved to that spot in the real world, and now I'm assigning it in Lightburn. So that was let's see, remove that. There we go. I hate that I had to share it that way, but I wanted you guys to see the process of print and cut. And as Steven says, print and cut is amazing. It really is. It blew my mind whenever I did the snow cone, not snow cone, the ice cream cone, and I had to go back and do those letters in the ice cream. Like I said, I was as nervous as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs because that was the first time I'd done it. I had not tested it, and I was testing it on a live stream, and it worked perfectly. Which, it shouldn't be surprising that it does, but the trick is taking your time and getting your points set up. Like I said, you may or may not have been able to tell when that laser head was moving. When I was zoomed in or showing that laser head on some of my movements, I was moving them 1/10 of a millimeter, getting that, and I had the fire button turned on, so I was able to watch where that laser was moving to. And once it dropped right into that corner of that engraving, lock that down, assigned a little circle on there, say, boom, there is where that laser should be at when it's related to that graphic. So if you don't take the time and get the precise placement of the laser, then it's not going to work that great for you. But taking the time, get it set up, it works. All right. Anybody got any questions? Let's see here. Mark says, since your jig is in a fixed position, you could do it without printing. No, I wouldn't. Because, like I said, I was moving it 1/10 of a millimeter. 1/10 of a millimeter. And if you're off by even just a 1/2 millimeter because of the way it's sitting in the jig, or it's wasn't placed all the way back to begin with, and the jig is cut on a piece of 3 millimeter Baltic birch, and it doesn't sit perfectly flat against the bed. And depending on humidity, depending on if it might move or flex a little bit, and even just flexing enough to cause it to be 1/2 millimeter off and the position's half, now you're a millimeter. That millimeter, when you're trying to go back and engrave right around what you just did, you'll see that it'll create an obvious shadow or an unwanted result. So I would not trust a jig when you're wanting to do print and cut. And that was another thing someone mentions is, why do you have, with this jig, if you're using this jig for the MK2, when you're making it, I tell people when you're doing it, move the material 2.5 inches up the honeycomb and then cut it out. And that's because of a rivet that's in the bed and a few other things. But also, you see where these pin locations are at here? That's only about 3/4 of an inch away from the bottom of this piece of wood. Had I not moved this up the work bed, then these holes would have been 2.5 inches higher up, giving you less area to create a jig with. So when I may not always voice myself clearly, I may not always say why. Okay, it wasn't just about the rivet in the bed, but it's also about getting these as far down on here as possible on a 12 by 12 piece of material to leave yourself as much space as possible to create a jig. Now, if you went to a bigger piece, 16 by 16, then it wouldn't be an issue. But some comments are, that's awful difficult. Well, if that's difficult, then my files might be too difficult too. I don't know. But no, Mark, I wouldn't trust just the jig. Use that precision placement of print and cut to drop that laser right in 2 spots and assign them. All right. One last view of Tom's. Tom, that'll be in the mail to you in the next day or so. Look for it. What day is this? Tuesday. You might see it before the end of the week. It might be first of the week. And there's my failure with my first epoxy pour. And I did that with just creating the same pocket that I was going to do with the wood. But if you're going to do epoxy pours, and especially if you're going to do a translucent like I did, then you probably want to run your pass twice, go really deep on your acrylic or your epoxy so you don't see any grain coming through that translucent. All right, any questions? We're going to wrap it. And like I said, and I hate these like this, but I'm trying to keep a schedule: Tuesday, Thursdays, and then a Saturday live stream. Tuesday and Thursdays with projects and what I've learned today in the last 2 days. And I got to figure out this editing. I got to figure out this editing software because it's, and it may turn out that the issue, and I've already replaced my hard drive twice. It may be because it was fine. It was not corrupted. Everything was fine. And I hit the rendering, and that saved it from the editing software to the external hard drive. And now things are corrupt. I've already replaced that external hard drive once. I've already scanned it, checked for errors. It doesn't say there's any. I've done all that stuff. But maybe that's the issue. Maybe the hard drive is the issue, and maybe it's not a software problem. Larry's got a question. Says, if you mentioned this in another video, I'm sorry, but I don't remember it. Is the box jig attached to the base via tabs? Box jig? Which box jig? Which you talking about? What you talking about? If you mean, are you talking about the box that I've got this sitting here? Are you talking about this actual jig here? Then yeah, I got those in slots and tabs. Yeah, that's, if that's what you're referring to, Larry. Yeah, slots and tabs to assemble it and then attach it. Yeah, I scanned it, defragged it. Even though it said that they didn't find any problems, I told it to clean and repair and all that stuff too. Still, for the epoxy pigment, you need to add some liquid solid pigment. Yeah, that would, if you want to get away from the translucent. And if this would have been a little bit thicker, because I only see wood grain in 1/4 inch area, and you can see it on there. You see the little black streak right there? That's where one little piece of wood grain that was a little bit proud. So had it gone a little bit deeper, you wouldn't see it anywhere. And this is a bank logo, and their bank logo is actually blue and green. So the idea of this blue and green pearl, I could get kind of their colors with one pour instead of having to do two separate pours. Oh, it's a 16 terabyte hard drive. And let's see here. Let's see, F. No, well. A 60, I'm sorry, 60 terabyte. Go to here, I think. Yeah, 60 terabyte free, 61 terabytes and 60.6 terabytes free. There's nothing on that hard drive. You know, it's a brand new one. I just bought it, and I don't know that that's the problem. But it's just been in the past 3 months, 2 months, that I've started having issues that nothing I record. It started out when I was trying to record real action with the laser and stuff like that. The computer memory, I've still got 134 gigabytes free. You know, it's not in the yellow or the red. It's still got, you know, some decent memory left. But I'm not using, you know, it's, I guess, just the processing and saving it to the drive. But I don't know. I got to find the issue. I got to find it and correct it. Cause I really was looking forward to showing you, because watching that, you've seen it, but you couldn't see the detail of it very well with it being such a small screen. How much RAM? I expanded the RAM. I forget how much RAM I added to it. But it's got plenty. Like I said, I've been doing this for, you know, I'm getting ready to celebrate our 2-year anniversary. And this just started in the last 3 months, in the last 2.5 months. Yeah. And Tennessee saying that I might have gotten a bad hard drive. The first one I got, the first external hard drive I got was actually a gift, and they swore by it. They said it was great. They tested it, and I was having nothing but problems with it. And this one, I don't know how much I don't remember how much I paid for it. I can't remember. But now that I think about it, it didn't come from Amazon. I think that one came from Alibaba. And so, yeah, it's possible that it's a knockoff or a copy, and it might be the issue. The scam drives rewrite over themselves after so many megabytes, but there's nothing on this thing to speak of. But what's weird, well, the software didn't change. I started changing software after I started having problems. I was using Active Presenter, and then I started having problems. And I said, okay, well, maybe Active Presenter has become the problem. So I tried OBS, and then that didn't resolve it. And so now I'm looking at other things. And yeah, like I said, this is, and here's what's funky. And we're getting totally off. We're off Lightburn now, talking about trying to figure out these hard drives. What's funny is if I go to, and it may be the hard drive. In fact, what I probably should try doing, because I've got room on my hard drive in the PC, I need to take the external hard drive out of the loop and test that. See if I can save it uncorrupted on my actual computer, taking the external drive out of the loop, because something I've noticed going on with this external drive is I'm learning. It's Alibaba's not bad for finding some deals on some engravable stuff, but yeah, I'm learning the hard way. Stay away from their electronics and things. But take a look here. If I go this is the external hard drive, and I go to my finished videos, all of these should have thumbnails on them, like these here. These that have these media play buttons, or those are corrupted files now. They weren't, but they are now. So I'm thinking it might be hard drive now. So yeah, I didn't 60 terabytes. Yeah, I didn't pay 40 grand for this one. I think Windows only allows a certain amount of hard drive capacity depending on the drive format. Now, yeah, I'm going to take that out of the loop and see if I can get that better, because I want to present the best product I can for you guys and not just be a talking head figure. And that's kind of what today was. I wanted to show you what we've done, showed you in a piss poor way how that was achieved. The video was much, much better. I spent an entire day putting the video together. That's the thing is, it's not only just a poor way of presenting it to you, but I've wasted, counting yesterday and the first half of the day, I've wasted a good 14, 15 hours and got nothing to show for it. I don't have time for that. So you definitely have one of those scam drives. Mine started like that with the thumbnails. The scammers rewrite the firmware to show larger size. We're gonna test. We're gonna get rid of it, and because like I said, and try it on the regular hard drive. And then if that goes away, then the first one that I got that was a gift, it was doing the same thing. And they swore by it. They said, "Oh, there ain't nothing wrong with that hard drive. I've tested it. Ain't nothing wrong with that hard drive." Well, I was having nothing but problems with it. So I replaced it, and now I'm still having problems. But I replaced it with one from Alibaba. So I'm looking for help. Okay. Hey, I ordered my MK3 per your recommendation. Well, the MK3 is not out yet. And I'm having a hell of a time receiving it. Roly received my cash a month ago. I was in contact with Leo, but he's no longer in contact. Well, if you're, I can't, Leo's not going to take your money and disappear. Now, the biggest problem I've seen with and you see the complaints on the Roly Automation official group, not Amazon, but UPS and FedEx, whoever, they're not bringing the packages when they're supposed to, and they're not delivering them. You're supposed to get two packages, at least two packages. Sometimes one package will show up, and then 3 or 4 days later, the other one will show up. Well, they're leaving the same facility at the same time, but they get lost in transit, damaged in transit, messed up. Most of the legitimate complaints that I've seen people have is falling at the doorstep of the shippers, the shipping company. If you when you say you reached out to Leo and he's not in contact anymore. If you did you get a shipping number? Once they ship it, they have no control over it any longer. Did you get a tracking number? Have you tracked it? Have you contacted the shipper? Where is my package? What's going on? I've heard of cases where they get damaged, and then once they get damaged in shipping, then it's en route to you. Now it's damaged. Well, now that it's damaged, it gets deferred and gets sent over to the damage claims facility, and then it gets tied up in limbo. And then sometimes it's halfway to your doorstep, and then they stop and take it. Now it's back halfway across the country again. But if you've got a tracking number, find out where it's at, what's going on. But I know that Leo hasn't taken your money and just ghosted you. You've bound to be given the information that you need to find out where it's at, because that's not the way they do business. But are you on Facebook? Get on the Roly Automation Facebook group and reach out there. Tag Dimitri and tag Leo. Say, hey, look, and because if you're just doing regular emails, then maybe it's going to somebody's spam or something somewhere. Here's a follow-up. He says, they lost my order and there's no shipping number, and he's trying to figure it out and asking for more money. I sent him proof of the invoice, and that's when I lost. Yeah, none of that makes sense to me. Yeah, I don't believe it. I'm sorry. I don't believe that. I don't believe what you're telling me. I don't believe I'm hearing the whole story. Is it possible? Anything's possible, but if I don't believe the man that I know, Leo, is going to take your money and say, sorry, we don't know about it. See ya. That ain't who he is. That's not the type of person that he is. And you say you'd like to have a phone number. You should have his email, Leo at Roly Automation. And now he's in China. He's in so he's 12 hours different between us. And that's one little headache. And that's why I say, if you go to the Facebook group, Dimitri, I think he's in Canada right now. So he's in a time zone that he will get to you in the same time. You can interact with him, and you could probably even send him tag him and get like a Facebook Messenger going on, and they'll resolve it. They'll get to the bottom of it. But they're not the company that's going to take your money and say, oh, well, hey, that happened. You don't have any yeah. I'm not calling you a liar, and I'm not saying that this is misinformation, but they are such a good group of people, and such a I've seen them go above and beyond with their customer support, that there's a tiny bit of me that wants to say, okay, well, you're a competitor who's out there who's wanting to slander their name, and you're trying to create some bad, because that's just not the way they do business. But you reach out and tag Dimitri on Facebook in the Roly Automation group, and you guys can get connected in real time, and you'll get to the bottom of it. I'm not in that kind of position. I love the machine. I love the product. I love the company. And I love their customer support. All right. So anybody else, anything else? Now that I've got more to think about, adventures, just I would be more than happy to contact you directly because I love your show and you got me in lasering. Definitely not, and I'm just a private. Well, and I don't have any better way to contact them than you do, and that's why I say that. And Leo is good about replying to emails, and Dimitri is extremely good about following up with contacting through Facebook. Now, and I'm gonna poke fun at 80% of my viewers. If your email is anything that ends in AOL.com, you're an old fart. And a lot of my old fart viewers don't like using social media. They don't use Facebook. And that's an unfortunate handicap, because that's the best way to get in touch with Roly with any complaints and concerns. And like I said, they're really Johnny on the spot about taking care of stuff. But yeah, go get if you have Facebook, get on that Roly Automation group and tag Dimitri, because he is in a North American time zone that you can get some real interaction with, real-time interaction with, and get to the bottom of it. Yeah, Jeffrey, I know he said MK3, but I'm sure it was just misquote, because there is no MK. That's not till next year. Yeah, I so Adventures with EJ, because other folks are kind of like, yeah, I don't know, because you did call the wrong laser, and it's not what you're describing is atypical. It's not normal. So there's more than just me that has a little hint of doubt about, how valid is it. But I'm being dead. Facebook group, tag Dimitri, so, and he will get in touch with you. All right, guys. If there's no more questions and no comments, and I've heard my phone go off several times, I've gotten multiple emails. Another thing I mentioned to you, I'm putting together that a working gear driven, or it'll be a motor driven, but it'll be a gear artwork. It'll be a planetary gear with the outer ring gear, and then that I'm going to probably design it so that, in fact, I designed one for somebody. Was it Moses? Was that for you? If you're still here, I designed a planetary gear system for a logo for somebody and sent it to them free of charge. But I'm going to take something like that, and most planetary gears you'll have the sun gear, three or four planetary gears that are driven around an outer gear, and they'll have internal gears only, but I'll do an internal and external, so that while those are turning and spinning, I don't know, maybe that outer gear doesn't turn. I don't know, but it's going to be freaky. It's going to be a lot of stuff going on. And I even thought about taking for the gears, like the planetary gears, they're going to be rotating and spinning. And I thought about taking and maybe doing an engraving like of 3 different optical illusions so that they're spinning, and it'll be just kind of fun to look at. That's on the horizon. And I'm going to dust off and dig out the Creality, because I do like the Creality for an open gantry laser. And I have raved about this, and it is everything I wanted to do, but there is a place for those open gantry machines. And now that I've gotten really proficient with the print and cut feature, I'm going to take my open gantry out to my front porch and set it down on probably a 4x4 piece of plywood, or maybe even bigger. I'm going to do a great big, huge sign that is going to be way larger than any footprint of a desktop diode, and create that using the print and cut feature and the Creality, just picking it up and moving around. You can do that with the Lasermatic, because the bottom comes out and it does have a Z extension, so you can do that. But it's a big machine. It's a lot heavier, better built than just the little flimsy open gantry machine. So I'm going to use the lightweight machine to do that. So those 2 things are coming. I'll look at your suggestions, and depending on what they are, they may derail these others that I've got going on. Yeah, hit the thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe. Looking for the subscriber count, hoping that I'll throw this out at the end of each of the videos. June 16th, June 16th or 15th, June 15th, June 15th. Now I have to get the calendar out every time, because my brain is, y'all will remember the date before I will. June 15th. June 15th at 3 p.m. Eastern time will be my 2-year anniversary. And during that live stream, somebody's going to go home or win a brand new Roly Lasermatic. It's not going to be my used one. You'll get a brand new one in the box, shipped to you from Roly, and it'll be given away to one lucky viewer in the live stream on June 15th. That live stream will start at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So you want to be sure you're tuned in for that. I'm just under 9,100 subscribers right now. I want to be at 10,000 subscribers between now and that live stream. That's just a desire. I would really, Leo is stepping up by donating a machine to give away in the live stream. And I'd like it very much if I can say, okay, this live stream has 10,000 subscribers. It just helps, adds value to the channel when I say, yeah, there's 10,000 subscribers to that channel. So if you haven't subscribed, go down and hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. And for folks who all have been saying, yeah, I've subscribed and I've got the notifications, clicked it, but I'm not receiving notifications. If you're sitting at your computer and you've got Windows open, or your Explorer open, whatever, you should see a pop-up, and probably see a pop-up even if you don't have one of the browsers open. You should see a pop-up from YouTube. But if you're not on your computer, you want to take your smartphone and go to your YouTube app and go into the settings and allow notifications. Because if you're not allowing notifications to be pushed through to your phone, that might be why you're not seeing the notifications. So subscribe, hit that notification bell, because you never know on Tuesdays and Thursdays, until I get this recording stuff straightened out. I may be live at 4, I may be live at 5, or I may, so notifications, make sure you're allowing notifications on your phone to be pushed through. Hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up. And just make sure there's no other. Yep. I'll be at work. You'll be at work on the 15th at 3. Your boss man shies away on the smartphone usage, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'd love to have as many people tuned in as possible, and as many of the viewers there that can have an opportunity to win this, because this is the Cadillac. No, it's not the Cadillac. It's the Lamborghini of desktop diodes, and with enclosure, for the full enclosure, all encompassing. This is the Lamborghini. All right, guys, we're going to jump off here, and thank you for hanging out with me. I wished I had the better video, because it was really good. It really was. But we're going to do, and I even had my song all queued up with my lasers and everything. It was all looking good. No, where is it? There it is. Turn that off, but we'll give you my theme song. I love this song. Lots of wood. Thanks for watching, guys. And this will end at some point.